Down there, we were looking, we were doing the final phases of buying the new owl's nest in Tampa. By the way, we got a new owl's nest in Tampa, Florida. It's going to be an 80-bed men and women's facility. And we're very excited. We're about 2 weeks from our grand opening. And just a few more tidbits on construction and things like that. But so Gene was sleeping during the day, as he normally does when we're on vacation. And I was just driving around Tampa just to check it out. And I seen this homeless guy. And I thought to myself, does he know that I'm not going to give him any money, And I was thinking about that, and I made a left turn on Kennedy. And as I drove up Kennedy, I noticed that there was a shaky shell of a human being. He was bending over to try to get something, and I watched him as he shook. And God spoke to my heart that this man was literally within days of dying. It was 120 degrees out with the heat index. And I could see the dehydration on him and the starvation on him. And he had this vest that was not on. It was on half crooked. And his sign was terrible. It was like, some of these guys make some really nice signs. His sign sucked, okay? But as he flipped it up, as I passed by, I noticed the sign just simply said, "Help me." So I went down and I turned around and I drove back and I took another good look at him. And I felt the pull of the Holy Spirit. And I turned around and I checked him out one more time because, you don't want to approach these guys because sometimes they think you're a fag and stuff like that. and with the speech that I had planned out, I said, how am I going to approach this guy? What's the best way to go about this? And I thought to myself, money, that's the best way to do it, So I pulled up to the stoplight where he was standing and I rolled my window down. And I said, look, is your sign a lie or is it the truth? And he said, it's the truth. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you $20 under one condition, that you give me 5 minutes of your time. And right then I was thinking, he's probably thinking, I hope this guy ain't gay, Like old Eddie Murphy said, when the highfalutin guy in the movie Trading Place, he said, jacuzzi, sir. He said, I knew y'all was gay. You ain't jacuzzi no damn right. And so people started honking, we were blocking traffic. And I could see that he was debating, but he heard the $20, so he said, all right, I'll get in. He gets in the car, and I made the first right, and I pulled to the first place I could pull over. And I looked at him, and I prayed before I picked him up, and I said, God, give me the right words to say. Because I didn't want to lecture him, and I didn't, and I remembered I had instructions on what to say. All these book studies I've done on chapter 7, man, it paid off. It paid off that moment. Because I knew exactly what not to say. And I knew what to say. It's like when Bill Wilson knocked on Dr. Bob's door, and Dr. Bob, all snooty, says, I don't know what a man like you could possibly do for a man to help a man like me. And Bill Wilson said, sir, I ain't here to help you. I'm here to help me. And that's what got Dr. Bob's attention. If Bill Wilson would have showed up there and said, you need God, we would have been in big trouble. Because there would not be Alcoholics Anonymous, because Dr. Bob was way more proficient in the Bible than Bill Wilson, okay? They would have argued for, 30 seconds before Bob threw him out. Instead, I looked at this man and I said, all right, I got 5 minutes. I was homeless, like you. I weighed 135 pounds. I weigh 235 now, so imagine what I look like at 135. And he kind of looked me up and down, and I said, you look like you're about 135. I said, my family would have nothing to do with me. And I used to be something. But I ended up being nothing. And I said, sir, if I offered you an opportunity to go to a place in South Carolina where they can help you to not only get sober, but to get back on your feet and be the man that God intended you to be, would you take that chance today? And y'all, I'll never forget it as long as I live, because the tears streaked down his face. And he said, yes, I would take it. And I guess within about 45 minutes, we went to get his stuff. And I kept saying, buddy, leave that. We'll buy you new stuff. And because his stuff was all wet. And he was sleeping in the back of a trailer with a mattress, like a jail mattress. And he says, I got some stuff hidden under here. And when he moved the mattress, 500 cockroaches poured out where he was. This is where he was sleeping. And I said, my God, how long have you been here? And he said, I think 6 years. I said, my God. You know, he hadn't had a haircut in 6 years. Or a shave, or a shower. It was bad. I want you to know that 2 of our members got up because he was so sick. The train stopped in Savannah and had a 5 or 6 hour layover. And I knew he would die in that 5 or 6 hour time not drinking. So I bought him a couple beers. I found out later, because I gave him enough money to buy beer on the train. I wasn't thinking that beers on the train are $6 a piece. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking $20. That's plenty. And he later made amends to me because he had a big resentment that all I gave him was $20. Because he could only get 4 beers, you know, and that wasn't doing it for him. And he got here, and we got him into the hospital. And he was dying, literally. And the McLeod Hospital took care of his physical needs. I guess it was probably about 2 weeks before he could walk good. But I want to tell you, I've never heard him complain. This man has thrown himself into the Owl's Nest institution. I want everybody here to understand that this is not the Shaw family's deal. It belongs to the residents and the alumni. Period. You take ownership in it. Because when Phil and I are gone, y'all better step up to the plate and you better run it right. Because this is going to live long past us. And it's important that you alumni in this room learn how to get along with each other. Because we've left some very strict instructions on how to keep it going when we're gone. And this man threw himself into the 12 steps. And his mother and father, who hadn't seen him, how long had it been since y'all had laid eyes on him? They hadn't laid eyes on him in 6 months. And I found out that they had just got done doing a prayer where they were praying for God to send someone to help their son. And you know, when I started finding out about John, do y'all know what an Emmy Award is? He is an Emmy Award-winning producer. He won it in 1996 for the production of, what's the name of the guy? Ted Koppel. Documentary. He's an Emmy winner. He went from being awarded an Emmy to sleeping in a cockroach-infested place in Tampa, Florida. And now that he's sober, he's using his talents to help the Owl's Nest. I know I've talked way too much, but I had some things on my heart that I just needed to say tonight about John and about the reason why he's here, because he's been in treatment so many times. And he gave up on AA. But what he got was critical, crucial, early sponsorship. And now he's the newest male Owl's Nest alumni. Come on up, John.
John, I'm an alcoholic.
Steve.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. That saved a wretch like me. Once was lost, but now I'm found. Blind, but now I see. Steve said it all. I would not be here. I wasn't living on the streets of Tampa. I was dying on the streets of Tampa. And Steve rescued me. I didn't ask to come to the Owl's Nest. The Owl's Nest asked me to come here and save my life by doing it. I had had an amazing opportunity while being a resident here at the Owl's Nest. From the early weeks of struggling to just make it into this room, I had a seizure my very first day here. And Steve gave me an opportunity along with Mr. Phil to help out Fred, who has the recording studio in Shiloh, where I have been blessed to have become very good friends with Fred Shaw as well, and work on some of his projects out of the recording studio. And then I was introduced to Phil Jr., who has become another wonderful close friend of mine. And I was afforded an opportunity to help out in the office, which again was something that I didn't ask for. The Owl's Nest blessed me with that opportunity as well. And I can never ever return that favor and that life-saving moment for that matter. I want to thank my higher power, because like this building says, with God, all things are possible. My parents, it makes me so happy to see them happy, because I put them through hell. And I love them. The staff, for your tireless efforts and your devotion, your professionalism, your care, your compassion, everything that you do for this place is something that cannot be expressed. I owe a great deal of gratitude for everything that the Owl's Nest has done for me. And I hope to be able to continue in helping the Owl's Nest wherever they deem it necessary. I have something briefly, because this has been a bit of a long commencement. I would like to read it, which says, I asked God to take away my pride, and God said no. He says it's not for him to take away, but for me to give up. I asked God to make my handicapped child whole, and God said no. He said her spirit is whole, her body is only temporary. I asked God to grant me patience, and God said no. He said that patience is a byproduct of tribulation. It isn't granted, it's earned. I asked God to give me happiness, and God said no. He said he gives blessings. Happiness is up to me. I asked God to spare my pain, and God said no. He said suffering draws you apart from worldly cares and brings you closer to me. I asked God to make my spirit grow, and God said no. He said, I must grow on my own, but he will prune me to make me fruitful. I asked God if he loves me. And God said yes. He gave me his only son to die for me, and I will be in heaven someday because I believe. I asked God to help me love others as much as he loves me, and God said, finally you have the idea.